thing we're pushing for is community. It's something called a community agenda to address violence. So there's all shootings and violence that happen. Every time that happens, all the officials say in police is we need more police. We just need to get tougher and tougher. And we know that doesn't work. And at the same time, they're cutting programs. They're shutting down schools. They're shutting pools down. So we're saying, no, what you need to address violence is resources, education, programs, these sort of things are what actually is going to address the violence that we're having. We're also, so that's one campaign called, those three I mentioned are under now an umbrella of sort of solidarity called the People's Agenda. But DARE ourselves, like I said earlier, we're pushing back on the discrimination that's happening around access to public housing, affordable housing, Section 8, those sort of things. And then our other campaign is to stop the displacement and eviction of people through that's happening through the foreclosure crisis. And so that's a big campaign. Last year we passed Just Cause, which says that banks can't evict people in a foreclosed property. They have to accept tenants. They have to accept rent until another individual buys a property, because what we're doing is just evicting everybody, and we've seen
and putting the house on the market, and right.
Not even they board it up. It gets
hey Pat, do you know anybody whose home is being foreclosed on?
Because of unscrupulous,
unscrupulous reverse mortgage lenders.
Right, there you go.
That would be me, by the way.
So when I look at the big picture, I got to ask you this. When it comes to local media coverage of your organization, you folks and the greater umbrella, whether it be Occupy and to a certain degree DARE, all right, is characterized, or I should say mischaracterized, as some sort of group of Ivy League affiliated students who bored with the club scene and just out there banging pots to make noise. And yet at the same time, when you look, and again, that's why I want folks to go to daretowin.org, and specifically there's a section called What We Do. It would appear that you're addressing literally just about every single level of social crisis that's occurring on the west and south end of Providence.
We're, I'd say 5% of the 95 other percent we can't get to. So,
right, but you're addressing youth issues. You're addressing, I mean, all of the evil that stems out of the war on drugs. Increased incarceration. Essentially, the ban the box, where you're taking people whose lives have been destroyed because of youthful. And again, when you come from the background I do, and you look at the amount of Grateful Dead listening, reggae loving, pot smoking hippies that I went to high school with, whose lives weren't destroyed.
They're now in the Rhode Island General Assembly
by petty indiscretions. All right, that seems to be just a beginning of how we can put people's lives back together again. So your focus is very much as an organization looking to try and right some of these wrongs and get folks on a track so that they can have a life. So how does your organization feel then about the media constantly trying to position you folks for all the things I said? I don't even want to repeat them. I mean, how do you react to that?
Well, we react to it by trying to, create our own stories, put our own messaging out there. Media is a form of entertainment. News is an entertainment thing. They're catering to what people, to people's fears and what gets them to tune in. So it's, we call it fear mongering. It's hard, that's how we're up against this big, sort of, it's really right wing for 95% of it, what gets put out there. And I think, but it's also, when I see the social media backlash and everybody posting on Facebook and all these sort of comments that happen everywhere, it's like, this is people have fear of change, the things that they don't understand, a lot of hate. So they're just pandering to, that's all it does to sort of keep everybody divided and off focus of what actually is causing these problems. Uneducated is sort of this, massive miseducation campaign by Fox News and that sort of stuff.
Well, and you keep harping on education, and I'm of the firm belief that there's not a problem in the world that better education can't solve. And for listening to you here and talking about the programs that you're running, I see your organization as an educational associate. Like, you're out there trying to educate people, not only educate the young folks in the neighborhood, but to educate the police officers, to educate the legislators, to educate the public at large about these issues. And that's what direct action is supposed to do. It's educational. And I want to just run this by you and get your thoughts on it. So I was at an MLK forum in Woonsocket yesterday, and I asked a couple of I was surprised to hear that a couple of our local church group leaders in the minority communities were kind of disparaging these Route 93 protests in Boston. And I said, well, nobody ever complains when the Patriots tie up traffic in Foxborough, and oh my God, what if an ambulance needed to get through? And then he said, yeah, but you know when it's going to happen, so you can avoid it. And I said, yeah, you can avoid it. And isn't the point of these protests to make it unavoidable for people? To make it so that they have to pay attention to the message, but so many people are dismissing the message because they don't agree with the method. And I think that's a huge breakdown in communication that we have here.
We're always going to have that. People are never going to be happy with the method. There's a lot of work that's happening that's not these protests, right? There's a lot of the ordinances where I was just talking about. There's forums, there's education, there's petitions, there's you name it. There's efforts to combat this through the normal channels. None of that's getting any kind of attention, right? So this sort of level of direct action is what brings it to people, whether they want to hear it or not. Just like they did in the 60s.
Yeah.
People didn't want to hear it then, and people were like, "No, we're going to bring it to you. We're going to bring it to you. Right? We're going to go to these places where this is, and we're going to show you." People are always going to want to shoot the messenger and disparage the message, no matter what it is. No matter who is saying what, you hear something about disparaging about the messenger. Mm-hmm. So it's to start saying, to scale back and say, well, maybe we should try to do a different method because they're attacking the method and not so much hearing our message. It's like, no, move over. Your time. You don't know what's going on. Let the youth who are leading this take it to the next level, and that's how we see it.
I definitely see the generational. I think there's going to be a shift in about 10 years in this country where there's kind of a new generation coming up that has a very, very different worldview than a lot of the people that are, quote, in the positions of power now.
We never have enough time, and the best emphasis on how well a show is going is when we run out of time and still have questions. But we've only got a couple of minutes left. If you can, if it's at all possible in just a few minutes, because we are the media, give us a snapshot of A, just how bad things are in certain parts of Providence, and B, how folks can help your organization.
Well, poverty in South Providence has increased every decade. The more higher-end development that there is in downtown Providence, the more poverty there is in other areas of Providence. So this idea that trickle down is going to, and this has a lot, this when there's no money for programs, all we get is criminalization. There's enough money, more money for prisons and police all the time. So that sort of whole mindset that giving money and tax breaks to the wealthy is going to fix things. That's the one sort of thing that's causing all kinds of problems. And you could just look up the statistics about the graduation rates, suspension rates, all those sort of things. So those are all horrible.
We've only got a few seconds left. How can people help your organization? Where can they donate? How can they contribute?
We get almost no money mainstream because of our sort of radical left-leaning work, and so we need, if you believe in this sort of work, put your money where your mouth is, or your body, and you can volunteer too.
All right, great.
And that's daretowin.org?
daretowin.org. All right. Again, thank you so much for coming on. We want to have you on again very shortly. Again, thank you to BB Shipping Logistics, 855-374-4748, your car shipping solution here in Rhode Island. We are the Coalition on coalition.radio, coalitionradio.us, facebook.com/coalitionradio. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.